We have an individual that was ill this morning, Christine, so Deb Ashburn is going to be serving as our clerk this morning. That's number one. And do you have the financials?
We actually have to vote on appointing Chris.
Oh, we have to appoint her? Okay, thank you for that. All right.
So just read the item. And then,
Do you want me to read me?
yes, please.
Read me. Commissioner's Office is requesting the board appoint Deborah Ashburn as acting clerk for March 17, 2015.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Rear.
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier.
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool.
Aye.
Welcome aboard. You're going to welcome John.
Yeah. Okay, now.
Hi, Heidi. How are you?
The financials today include a revenue certification for the Common Pleas Smart Ohio grant funding, supplemental appropriations for the sheriff's vehicle purchase in the amount of $3,900, supplemental appropriations and de-appropriations for the Board of DD donation, residential services, and capital funds to agree with the board-approved budget per Resolution 14-61A, supplemental appropriation for the county engineer building to appropriate funds for the salt storage project, cash transfers into the general fund for the fourth quarter bed tax administrative costs and partial reimbursement of the payroll advance from the transit department, travel request for the Department of Job and Family Services and Juvenile Court, the fourth quarter 2014 bed tax disbursements to the City of Chardon, Burton Village, Russell Township, and the Geauga Tourism Council, payment to GPD Associates for engineering services for the Russell Wastewater Treatment Plant Upgrade Project, and for the Department of Water Resources in the amount of $12,516.61, and a payment to Mary Ruth Shumway for the third installment for an external services evaluation for the juvenile court in the amount of $3,333.34.
Commissioner's Office is requesting the board approve and execute Resolution 15031, itemizing the financials for the meeting of March 17, 2015.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Rear.
Aye.
Spillier.
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool.
At the airport up next. Morning, Pam.
Morning. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Well, today we are here just to draw on a grant that we have from a project that we had working last year. This is a partial payment for the aerial survey that's being done at the request of the FAA, and hopefully we can determine all of the obstructions, things we need to get removed, and what we don't need to get removed from that.
So are they using a plane to do the survey? How are they doing the survey?
The
Is it a
survey,
land survey?
they do two aerial surveys, one with the leaves on, one with the leaves off, as well as a total ground survey, and then they upload it into the FAA's AGIS system so that it's accessible to everybody, and we can collect all the data, get it all in reports, and know what we have to do.
Yeah, I got the opportunity to fly a survey when I was at the FAA, and I flying co-pilot seat as we were flying instrument approaches and so forth to confirm the glide path, so on and so forth. It's a real interesting experience. I don't know if that's what they're willing to do or not.
It's a little more advanced now than what they used to do, but yeah.
Are you trying to say that I'm old?
No.
We did have to prop it when we.
That's right.
Okay. She said no.
The Geauga County Airport Authority is requesting the board acknowledge and approve reimbursement request number 5 for FAA grant number 3-39-0054-1714 in the amount of $22,823.56. $20,541 is the FAA portion, and $2,282.52 local county match.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, the building department. Glasses on.
Oh, building, I am substituting for the building department today.
Okay.
They were able to attract a qualified applicant, Jerry Blakey, to the position of multi-certified inspector. He comes to us from a suburb of Cleveland, whose name escapes me right now, but he's a Geauga County resident, and he's happy to come and work for Geauga County in the building department to fill the position that was vacated when Jimmy Rankar left here a couple months ago.
The building department is requesting the board approve hiring Jerry Blakey to the position of multi-certified inspector, number 1103, to be effective April 1st, 2015 at a rate of $23.62 per hour. After the successful completion of a 180-day probationary period, the rate will increase to $24.87 per hour.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool? Morning, Kelly. You guys dividing this up this morning?
I'll just do it all, and Anita's in the...
Just here for moral support?
Yeah.
Deal with it?
If there's any questions on the second one. For number 5, that is the status report for BF13 grant. That was the grant that we did the Fairgrounds paving project, and we were supposed to do the Burton project in that. So you'll see that the numbers are less than what the actual grant award was because we did not use all the grant funding. We don't have to send any back. We just never got it all in because of the Burton project was canceled and the town on aging project was canceled. So other than that, the numbers match between our books and the auditor's books and the state's books. So.
The Office of Community and Economic Development is requesting the board approve and authorize the president of the board to execute the Ohio Community Development Block Grant Program final performance report for grant B-F-13-1AC-1 for the period September 1st, 2013 through February 28th, 2015.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
The next one is the release of fund certification for the Chardon House. This is a revolving loan fund client that will be applying for a revolving loan fund. And the ER environmental review has been completed and sent. This is housekeeping. This is not a binding contract saying that, yes, the loan is going to go through. Those documents will be coming later once everything's settled.
The Office of Community and Economic Development is requesting the board approve and authorize the president of the board to execute the State of Ohio Development Services Agency Office of Community Development request for release of funds and certification for federally funded state projects in regards to a possible revolving loan fund loan to Chardon House, LLC.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
And the last one is notice of award for Stephen Ciceretto. I sent out a request for proposals to architects for the Burton Legion Hall project under BF14. And Mr. Ciceretto sent in his RFP. It was the only RFP I received back. So it's within our budget, within 10% of the project. And so that's a notice of award for him for that project.
The Office of Community and Economic Development is requesting the board approve and authorize the president of the board to execute the notice of award for Stephen Ciceretto, AIA Architect for services to be performed at Burton American Legion Hall under grant B-F-14-1AZ-1 in the amount of $5,250.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Thank you.
Hi, Karen.
Good morning.
Hi, Karen.
Morning.
Hi.
Really tall. I can't even touch.
Well, sitting up in the little kid's seat, your feet will touch the ground.
Yeah, booster chair.
Move to the short chair.
Okay. There's a bunch of them, and basically what this is I'm adding to all the job descriptions that are there that they need to be able to pick up 50 pounds and up and downstairs, so that we don't end up having people that aren't capable of doing the job anymore in those positions. So the first one is for attendance.
Do we want to do all these together?
You can.
I mean, read just
8, 9, 10 are the same thing.
okay. 8, 9, and 10.
Now, did
Yeah.
you say that what were 11, 12, 13, and 14?
Well, 11's creating a new position, and 12 is to add that position to my organization chart. 13 is to advertise for both of those jobs internally.
Gotcha. So why don't we do the 2
The county home is requesting the board approve the revised job description for the position of attendant 1504 to be effective March 17, 2015. County home is requesting the board approve the revised job description for the position of senior attendant number 1506 to be effective March 17, 2015. And the county home is requesting the board approve the revised job description for the position of cook number 1503 to be effective March 17, 2015.
I'll make those motions.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Now, what are we going to do? The other 4? Or are we going to do the
Well, we'll do the next one, 11, because it's different. Go ahead.
That's just, like I think it was last year that we started that senior attendant. It's just to build a little bit more hierarchy because there really needs a very flat structure there. So we're trying to build in a little bit of management.
So when you say that you got a new position for a cook, that's what we're talking about right now.
Yeah,
You're gonna be hiring?
no, I'm not going to hire anybody. That's an internal application. There's 2 of them. 2 cooks right now, and one's eligible
Oh, I
to
see what you're
become
saying.
that.
Okay. You're just going to make one a senior cook person.
Right, right. And they're going to just assume a little bit more duties than they have in the past. It gets it off my back. I think this is a good thing. I'm trying.
Right.
County home is requesting the board approve the new position and job description for senior cook number 1507 to be effective March 17, 2015.
So move.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye. And the next one.
Same thing. It's the same organizational chart we had, but we're just added the senior cook to it.
County home is requesting the board approve and the revised county home organizational chart to include the position of senior cook 1507 to be effective March 17, 2015.
So move.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye. And we can do the next 2 together, I think. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it will be. Don't make it any less than half an hour, and I should be able to do that.
County home is requesting the board grant permission to advertise internally for a period of 5 days for the position of full-time senior attendant, 3rd shift, number 1506. And the county home is requesting the board grant permission to advertise internally for a period of 5 days for the position of senior cook, number 1507.
I'll make those motions.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good reminder.
Already. I checked mine. And all right. Let's see.
Hey, David, I think you're right. It is. I don't know what I got, but make it tick when I'm back.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's getting feedback off the speaker when he's sitting in the chair.
That's what I said to him before the meeting, because the last time he and Scott were here, he was squealing like a pig back there.
Hey, that's bad.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, whoa. No pun intended. No bad pun intended. It was just squealing like heck. And then the next time when you guys weren't here, it was quiet.
This system is used primarily or exclusively by the sheriff, and he runs it. It's not used by him. It's used by all the police, fire, Perry people, fire investigation unit, hazmat team, coroner. The list goes on and on. On a daily basis, the stats from last year show that the totals for numbers of alerts initiated was 12,145. It's in your packet with the agreement for 409,434 messages. So that tells you how much activity there is in Geauga County for police, fire, and other units on a daily basis. And the other stat is number of notification systems, landline numbers. Those are the ones that the sheriff's got the Master Street address guide with all of the hardline phone numbers in Geauga County, which gives people update on a daily basis, and that's tied into the system so that if we have to make notifications in a geographical area based on maybe a lost child or a boil alert or whatever, it goes to those hardline numbers. Those were 68 for 12,105 contacts. Then there's public alerts. I believe last year we had one for, did they do rabies last year?
No.
Okay.
I didn't do it. I did it the year before.
The sheriff might know, but I think there were 27 that were done to public alerts for 6,589 messages that were sent out. So the system is used a lot, and I believe your 800 coordinator also wrote a program that interfaces the Spillman system with the alert, so that instead of having to type the address in, it automatically propagates in the message and goes out to even further enhance your capabilities.
This system is our notification system to fire, EMS, law enforcement, as well as other groups for emergencies. It allows us to send large quantity of text messaging, if you will, out to a group much faster than you could do it on a group text. It also allows it to be done in the field. Incident command, can have the ability from a mobile data terminal to send out messages for more manpower, for different other things that they might need to groups. The system is used for special events, for example, the Geauga County Fair. One of the things we do there is we, just before the fair, we put all of the gate workers' cell phones, numbers, etc., into the system. And should we have a major incident at the fair, perhaps a missing child, or even a weather emergency, or something that we need to get the information out quickly to all the people, we could do that with this. Dale touched on the geographic basis, but basically we have the ability to pick a point on a map and encompass an area and deliver a recorded message to all landline phones in that region, in that specific area. So it could be anything from we've had a child walk away, or perhaps a dementia patient, to we've used it for water alerts, boil alerts, anything for public safety. So
on the missing child, could you actually send a photo too?
we are working with that, yeah, to be able to send a photo. We can't do it to landline numbers, but we can just do other things. The ability to is it allows you to answer back, and normal text programming does not allow that. So you will respond. You did receive the message. You can put in a response. Press 1 if you received the message. So.
The reason for the third split is Dave Sages here. He's the chairman of the local emergency planning committee. We have approximately 22, 23 extremely hazardous substance facilities in Geauga County. We've got to do field projections. So they thought in their interest of alerting the people, we've got these plumes in geographical areas, so that we had to notify people of a release and to evacuate. They see the need for us to be able to do that. And to a lesser extent, we have lesser, extremely hazardous substance facilities, and those run about 45 to 50. They haven't all come in this year. To a lesser degree, that could have an impact on people too, and we can also send text messages out to those landline numbers and also to the ones that have signed up to the web-based program. And I mainly use it for hazmat, Perry, and other types of disasters. We had 3 hazardous material spills last week in the county due to the ice falling and underground breakage of lines, fuel oil lines. So we had quite a week last week. So it was very invaluable to us.
So is Inspiron, who provides the service, it's like Verizon or AT&T, it's a service that has a database that has all the landline phone numbers in it, yada, yada, yada.
No, they don't.
And what is the service that we're buying? And are they kind of a monopoly? I mean,
No. We've looked at other ones. We've looked at what Lee County's using, a system they bought in 2006, which they paid $67,000 for, and they have an annual maintenance of $5,600. Ashpila County uses Code Red, and they're paying $26,000 per year. We looked at one in Hockley County called Civic Ready, and based on their population, it's approximately 3,000 to 6,000. They haven't gotten it.
So what are we buying? What are we paying for?
You're buying the service. You're funneling our information. You use some of these other services, and they have databases which aren't really up to date. They buy those phone numbers from some business or source. We're actually, like I mentioned, the sheriff's database is probably 99.9% accurate on a daily basis. He controls that database. We integrate that into this system, and it funnels out, and that's how the notifications are done. That's why it's highly reliable. There's not a monopoly. There's a lot of groups out there. And the reason we don't go beyond 1 year is because as technology changes, there might be another vendor which comes back to Geauga County and says, we can do it better for less. Or perhaps there might come a time where someone in the county with expertise could even write a program, but I don't think that exists at this point. But we have looked. We've looked at other counties. I was talking to your 911 coordinator. We were saying some of the services charge 6 cents per call. We ran the numbers. If you run the numbers on, was it 400,000 at 6 cents a piece? I think that's 20-some thousand right off the bat, not even including the service. So far, this has been, and this is iPause compatible. iPause is the national public alerting system through the government. It's iPause able. Some of the other vendors aren't. So I think we're probably with a group right now that's where we want to be. And of course, we will look at other vendors.
But they're, just to be clear, I'm a little confused. So be patient with me. The service that we're providing, or that they're providing to us, is basically the calling service. In other words, you have the database, I heard Dale say, and so you're funneling your data to their service, and they can do what you said earlier, and that is to isolate where you want the calls to go to, and so on and so on and so forth. So they're providing the mechanism to get the calls.
Mechanism, and there's a little bit more to it than that. If you were to try to send out 100 text messages at one time, the phone service and whatnot could perceive that as spam, and there has to be gateways that allow that to go in. It's also much quicker. If you do a text message in a group, just within yourselves, it could take a minute or two to get out. This is right now broadcast the entire group quickly, and again, be an EMS call, fire call, time is critical. So we look for a system that is efficient, quick, but most importantly, reliable. I mean, we're counting on this. It absolutely, positively has to work. So by doing a 1-year contract, we provide us the opportunity to look at vendors and technology as it changes. Again, we all know what technology does. Moves quickly.
This is only good for the landlines, right?
No, this does cell phone
Okay.
and landline.
I thought your database, you mentioned.
No,
The phone company is required on a daily basis to send the sheriff any adds, changes, and deletions to landline numbers in Geauga County.
Okay.
The sheriff's office maintains that database and goes and changes it once a day based on that information. Whereas cell phone providers are not required under law to provide us with numbers, changes, additions, and deletions. And so it's an opt-in. You have to actually go to the sheriff's website and sign up for that.
So there's a registry for cell phone numbers if you don't have if you're someone who doesn't have a landline. Okay, there's a provision that they can do this, and they'll receive the notice.
It's subscriber based. For example, Commissioner, if you change your landline phone number today, we'll get notification of that tomorrow and update our database.
Right.
And the reason behind that is if you were to call 911 from your landline phone, we know the address attached to that phone. Cell phones, these same regulations aren't there with the FCC. So cell phones are subscriber based. If you'd like to participate and get notifications to your cell phone, you can initiate that. Go to our website and sign up, and you'll receive the same message that would have gone to your home will also then come to your cell phone.
So it'd be a good thing for folks to sign up because they're going to get an emergency
Absolutely.
notice that says, hey, your nuclear power plant just melted down. You might want to think about leaving.
Well, if you pull it up, there's a list. You can get it by geographical area. You can get it by event. So that let's say you had a mother that lived in Munson, and there's an event, you could get it from Munson.
Importantly as well, you're here. You're not home.
Right.
If something were to occur at your home, you would get the message come to your cell phone.
But it goes to both phones, right?
Yeah, but you're not there.
I understand
So,
that, but
let's
if
say
I'm
we have a
there and I
hazardous-
have my cell phone off, it goes to my landline. If I have my cell phone
Yes.
on, it goes to both phones.
Yes.
Now, with a lot of the IP phones that are out now, Umla, and you pick the phone, are they a gap also?
That's a problem too,
So-
yes.
That's an interesting problem because they will be attached to a location, an IP phone. When we get the updated information from a carrier, a provider, we can put your phone to an address. If you move your phone, we don't know that. We need notification that, in fact, you've taken the phone from here to Columbus and plugged it in. You're going to get notification. The assumption is you know you've moved your phone. Go for that.
Very good. Well, thank you.
It's a way to, we use it routinely to notify emergency responders. We also use it to notify the community and the public, both landline and if they subscribe, we can do it cellular.
But, I mean, here's another kind of a question. As people change technologies, I mean, my kids don't even have a landline. They have cell phones.
Yep.
And they're going to be a gap in your system. More and more people are moving to IP phones because they're cheap and they're portable. I can take mine to Venezuela with me and plug it in. It doesn't know that it's there, just as a phone number. And so you've got a gap. You've got more and more people moving away from a standard landline. At what point in time might it become not a useful activity to work off in?
Well, the two parts. First of all, the side of this program that allows us to notify emergency services, EMS, fire, law enforcement, etc., of an emergency, kind of standalone, separate. Okay, the public notification, there is movement afoot to provide the cellular information automatically, like they do the landline information, so that we could notify you, because more and more people get away from landlines and rely predominantly cellular. In lieu of that, we encourage people to sign up, if you would. We don't sell this information. We don't share it. It's solely for emergency notification. I'm signed up.
It's very secure.
I'm signed up. So we issue something, as sheriff certainly, But if we issue a oil alert in Bainbridge, a rabies drop
Yeah, the rabies drop.
in another area, whatnot, I'm going to get those notifications. The big advantage to a citizen, you get notification, hazardous material incident, perhaps requiring evacuation of an area. You leave. You may go to a relative. You may go to a friend. You may go to a hotel. We also use this system to sound the all clear. So if you're signed up for cellular service, no matter where you went, you would get the message. The emergency's been abated. It's safe now to come home.
So citizens can sign up at your website.
Yes, free. Totally free.
If they want to be on there.
And they can pick an area, and frankly, we've not limited it to where you reside. You can pick areas in the county because we recognize that oftentimes a citizen, perhaps a resident in this county or a resident in another county, may have family members which they help provide care, elderly parents, etc. And they would want to know, Mom lives in Parkman. If something happens, you might need to know, that type of thing. So.
I'm looking at their website. It's www.inspironlogistics.com. You want to see information on the service and on other clients they use.
Okay, very good. If there's no more questions,
The Department of Emergency Services is requesting the board approve and authorize the president of the board to execute the LEMS service agreement between the Department of Emergency Services, DES, Geauga County Local Emergency Planning Committee, LEPC, the Geauga County Sheriff's Office, Geauga County Board of Commissioners, and Inspiron Logistics for an emergency response notification system for emergency responders and the general public for the period April 1st, 2015 through March 31st, 2016 in the amount of $19,350, $6,450 paid by the Local Emergency Planning Committee, LEPC, $6,450 paid by the Department of Emergency Services, and $6,450 paid by the Sheriff's Office.
I'll make that motion.
second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I know.
That's because I can't sign on my agency as a board.
There's no board signature on here, so.
You want on
Frank, Andy. Yeah, well, we can hear.
It's not going to happen.
No.
Dave already sworn.
So that should probably be corrected because it doesn't reflect the proper website.
Well, you're our agent, so
We got to write that in there though, because from a contract standpoint, if we don't have the correct word, we're allowed to.
What is this contract?
Yeah, I saw
Who's that
that.
file?
I have no idea. I thought
Okay.
You must be on the record as having some interest in that case or vendor.
We're in a rare mood this morning. We have a lot of questions. It is St. Patty's Day. I'm looking to see if you guys have green. We do have a green strap on, but
I do.
outside of that, just not in the mood today. Huh?
Never mind.
Okay. All right. So what's up?
We are here this morning to request that the board approve and execute the contract with Miller Builders LLC for the salt structure, for which you guys, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, had awarded a bid with Miller Builders, and now we're, as promised, here 2 weeks later to have that contract executed. Along those lines, again, I appreciate this goes beyond sort of just even today, just what the board has done with this. This wouldn't be a reality now without you guys in the office working with us to do this. This was a good instance of a lot of government work to get together, cut through red tape, and make sure that we could provide a product for the residents of the county that is beyond what we've been able to do in the past, especially with the condition of the building that we currently have, just where we're going, and then to get back the bids that we got some really good numbers on that. We're excited, and again, that we thank you guys for all of that.
I'm excited to see this filled with salt.
I'm excited too. Hopefully, we'll get there here soon. It's going to be one of those couple-year things, I think, but we're definitely going to get there, and it'll be good.
I got a call last week from somebody who wants to put furniture in there.
Furniture.
Yeah. They didn't know what kind of building it was, and they were calling me to say, hey, we noticed that you're building a new building, and we're ready to put furniture in it, and we can come on and talk to us. And I said, sure. But there'd be a load of salt on top.
I'm not sure you want to sit in that building for very long. It has its own environment, ecosystem, or whatever. They're very unique. But along those lines, after you gentlemen were able to approve sort of the transfer this morning, our county auditor came in and certified the funds for which you'll probably want to go with each one of those contracts, just showing that the money was transferred over and that's all done.
Okay.
County Engineer's Office is requesting the board approve and execute the contract agreement with Miller Builders, LLC, for the construction of a self-storage structure to be located at 12665 Merritt Road in the amount of $485,780.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Cool. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate it. Thank you.
It should be. Maintenance charge.
That's kind of what I'm hoping. Get this fill it up.
Oh, after this year's
We don't have winter.
Good morning.
Morning.
How you doing?
Morning, Glenn. How are you?
Good, yourself? Morning, Skip.
So you dressed for the day.
Morning.
Always.
Oh, Irish, yeah.
Yeah. Go Lucky Charm every day.
Go ahead.
The first one is for, we're going to be replacing some roofs. We got a couple, 3 small roofs out at Ravenwood/Senior Center. This is all, we're going to get those. We've had some leaks the last couple of years, so I think it's the siding on it, the whole works. And ice guard them, and then we have one up at the annex, above our mailroom/auditor's office up there that we've had a small leak up there, so we ice guard all that. We get a lot of ice up there in those roofs, so something that's needed. So we want to get this done. What I've done also with this is the contract is only for about $17,000, but when we tear off the shingles, we're not going to know if any of that plywood is good or bad. So for $40 a sheet, that is included into this price also.
Okay. Want to read the next screen? Cover the.
Oh, you want to cover those?
Yeah, but also all 3 of them together.
All right. The next one is our service. Next 2 is the service contracts for our backflow preventers. They have to be tested every year. Backflow preventers basically keeping contaminated water from going back into the main source of the water supply. So we get these tested every year. This is 18 and 19 is 2-year contracts for our backflow preventers. And we have maintenance on that, so if anything's wrong with the backflow preventer, we'll go ahead and do the maintenance right on it.
And then the last one here is for
19, that's backflow preventer also, but that's for just the safety center backflow.
Maintenance Department is requesting the board approve and execute a service contract agreement with Hirschberger Roofing and Siding to perform the replacement of roof shingles at the Ravenwood Center entrance and re-roof the 223 Main Street office building for the year 2015 in an amount not to exceed $19,000. Maintenance Department is requesting the board approve and execute a service contract agreement with Advanced Mechanical to perform inspections and maintenance services for Geauga County backflow devices for the years 2015 and 16 in an amount not to exceed $15,000. Maintenance Department is requesting the board approve and execute a service contract agreement with Advanced Mechanical to perform inspections and maintenance services for Geauga County Safety Center backflow devices for the years 2015 and 16 in an amount not to exceed $5,000.
I'll make those motions.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier? And Commissioner Claypool.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you, Glenn.
Jim?
Morning.
How were you?
Good.
Good.
Morning, James.
Morning. I'll wait till you're done signing. Or it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm just here to give a question.
On this, Jim, this is for the appointing of counsel for mental health. I had an opportunity. I talked to Tim Reed about this when this first showed up a couple weeks ago, and his only concern was that, of actually, if there was really a need, if we were going to actually take legal action, where there'd actually be a suit or litigation actually involved. He felt that his position to me was basically that, unless there would be an actual position of litigation, he said, he didn't see that we should feel obligated to have to produce the, the representation or to go down that road. He says at this point in time, it's strictly going to be opportunity for him to look into some information requests and just asking a few questions out there to review it, and he felt that at this point in time that he would feel that this was a necessary position for myself to take. Your thoughts?
Well, the board made this request to me, and the reason that I sent it up here to put on the agenda, at this point, I guess the main issue would be that the mental health board is at a little bit of a disadvantage. I understand that the board of commissioners has not commenced any legal action. However, you've retained counsel, and you have the benefit of consulting with that counsel to discuss different options available to you with respect to the mental health board. The mental health board just, I think at this point, wants the same opportunity. So I guess it really wouldn't be fair for you to have the benefit of a lawyer that you can discuss, well, what if we want to do this? What if we want to do this? I think the mental health board wants a lawyer so that they can ask their counsel, what if they do this? What if they do that? What if we get this records request in? How should we deal with these items? It's just an issue of once you request counsel, even to consult with respect to an adversarial situation with the Board of Mental Health, I think they should have the same opportunity to have their own counsel to have those discussions with. So, otherwise, I just don't see how it would be fair.
So if we had a position that this wouldn't get approved, what would they do?
I think if you didn't approve it, then I would make application to the court without your approval.
Right, and then have them just order it.
Yes. But to try to put it nicely, you're the reason, all of you collectively are the reason that they need the lawyer. So I think you should approve it, but certainly you don't have to vote yes. But either way, I'm going to go secure them legal counsel, right, because I think that they should have legal counsel.
Okay.
Well, and I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking through the discussion that we're having here. I'm not sure that they need legal counsel. Keeping in mind that what this is about our kids. Okay, if you realize what brought us to this point, is about a survey that's going out through our school system, which I have a copy of right here, that many of us feel is detrimental to our kids. And so we're really discussing what are our options to deal with a situation where our kids are being put at risk. And not only that, it's about our budgets. Because if you look at the decisions, we're spending thousands and thousands of hours, lots of kids are involved, millions of dollars to put out a survey so that the Pride company who produces a survey can make a lot of money, and so that we can potentially get grant dollars associated with conducting the study, just going through the act. If you look at all that, at the end of the day, this is about how do we deal with a situation where we're putting our kids at risk. And so we're dialoguing with an attorney to say, look, we've got the situation before us. What are our options? What do we need to do in order to deal with this situation? That does not necessarily constitute an issue for the mental health board yet. We've not gone after them. We've not done anything that puts them into a position where they should feel at legal risk at this point in time.
But you've retained your own attorney to have discussions with your own attorney
about, you don't know what we're talking about, right? And so
I don't, but again, they should have the same opportunity.
Why?
There's really only a few things you can do with respect to the mental health board. You could file some sort of legal action against them, and you may be talking to your attorney about that. The mental health board should have the opportunity to be proactive and discuss with an attorney, how they would react to legal action being taken against them. Another potential option, the main power that the Board of Commissioners really has over just about everybody in the county is, the power of the purse. So if you're going to be looking at certain budget situations, they should have the opportunity. If you're going to consult with a lawyer on that, and again, I'm making assumptions because I don't know what you're talking to a lawyer about, but if you're going to be talking to a lawyer about doing that, the mental health board should have the opportunity. I think once the Board of Commissioners retains separate legal counsel, even have discussions about issues that are adversarial to another entity, then that other entity, if they request it from me, I'm going to present that request.
And that other entity has a budget from which they could take these legal funds. And we're not talking about tens of thousands of dollars here. We're talking about some initial upfront legal counseling and so on and so forth. It's a few $100s to a few $1,000s. And so why not have the mental health board, if the board feels that at risk, and use the funds that they currently have available rather than requiring the county commissioner general fund to do this?
Because under 305.14, they're a county board. I represent them. You're a county board. I represent you. Mm-hmm. You've retained counsel. I have to go through this procedure.
We don't have separate funds. We have to use the funds that we've got available. The mental health board has funds. We've given them funds to operate.
But everybody has funds. I would do that. I mean, I would do this if one of the judges needed their own counsel. If the recorder needed their own counsel, the auditor, I would do the same application process. I mean, the code spells out how I'm supposed to do this.
It's the rules.
Right.
Exactly.
So then, who would be paying for this attorney?
I believe they would send the bill to you. I would, to be very blunt, I don't think it's 100% settled whether it would come out of the general fund or whether you could require mental health to pay it out of their fund. Honestly, that would be something for each of your respective lawyers to probably discuss. The sad part of this is you may never have a lawsuit over the surveys, because that may ultimately never happen. You may never sue the mental health board or take any type of formal legal action involving the surveys. There might actually be legal action over who pays the legal bills. But under this procedure, then the Board of Mental Health would send the bill up here. If you refuse to pay it, then the lawyer could file a lawsuit to force you to pay it. And whether they would ultimately be successful, I don't know. That's never come up.
Because that's my only confusing part is I understand your position and I do get that. My only thing is they're a board within their own organization. That why couldn't their own board make a decision to hire an attorney? Like from what I understand, their minutes.
You're the only ones that can do that. So under the law, I represent. So under the statute, I represent the auditor, the treasurer, the clerk of courts, JFS, the board of commissioners.
Okay.
So because you guys have a better lobbying group than everybody else, you can hire a lawyer without consulting me. You just can't, it can't exceed my salary for the year. The cumulative amount that you pay a lawyer. Yes. So you can hire a lawyer whenever you want without asking me. And as long as it doesn't exceed my salary for the year, you can do that. If it's going to exceed my salary for the year, you'd have to get my permission to do it. Everybody else, I have to make application. So, and then with JFS, I actually have to, I would have to give written approval for them to get their own lawyer. So the statutes are, the commissioners are one of the few entities that really have that, where they don't have to go through the prosecutor to get their own lawyer. They're pretty much the only one.
If mental health had an issue with John Q. Public, someone else, you would be their counsel, correct?
Yes.
And your bill would be absorbed by the county.
Yes. I mean, I have 5 lawyers in the civil division. That's what we do.
That's what I'm saying.
Whether it's chasing somebody for septic or representing, Laura spends most of her time with you guys, with maintenance department, anybody. I mean, the coroner. So that's what we normally do. The problem becomes when 2 people that we represent get into a fight with each other. That's what becomes a problem.
And so then we have to pay, in this case, we have to pay for our person. Regardless who we could be at odds with, the engineer. We could be at odds with Water Resources, because I'm looking at it. We could be at odds with somebody else, and it would still be our obligation because you could not represent that person.
Yes,
to pay that bill.
Yeah, you have to pay both. You'd have to pay both lawyers.
And
So
if we gave you, I'm sorry, Blake. If we gave you permission to set aside the fact that you represent us, can we do that? And say, go ahead and represent the mental health board.
no, because ethically I can't. You're still my client. I'm still actively representing. You'd have to get rid of me completely.
Well, you'd have inside information just by virtue of the fact that you work for the county.
Yeah,
and so
there's
on.
that.
I mean, there'd be other issues that we seek a legal opinion on.
Yeah,
that would disqualify you, I would think.
Yeah, and I'm always representing you on other items. The only way you could completely get rid of the conflict is if you hired your own lawyer for everything, which, since I have 3 different lawyers doing all the various work between you and the departments that you hire, I don't think you'd find one for less than my salary. In fact, I'm pretty sure of that. So
don't brag.
We provide a good value to the county. So, that's the thing. You got to. I mean, everyone under your hiring authority too. We're doing all that legal work. So you'd have to try to extricate yourself from all of that to get rid of the conflict. It's really not possible.
The other thing too is there's no cap on this. As far as what they, when we did it, we had a cap of 10,000. They could. I mean, it pretty much kind of leaves us open. I just don't feel comfortable with it too much. And if the judge orders it, I think that I don't have an issue with that. It's just if that's what it is. But I think that I think we took the position where, based on just our constituents calling to us for help and calling us to take action. And I believe too, or I wouldn't have supported the decision to move forward, that there's some issues that have to be addressed on the mental health side of things. Okay.
Yeah, and again, I have to go through this procedure. So,
right.
But ultimately, they're my client. So,
Yep.
And they've asked for a lawyer. I feel that it's appropriate for them to have a lawyer. So I'll do what I have to do. But and your $10,000 cap was self-imposed.
Right.
I mean, your only real cap is
the salary.
The salary.
Yep.
And actually, they don't have a cap. They wouldn't. So that's kind of the other oddity with the statute.
Could we approve it? I mean, are you here representing them today? Is that not a conflict?
No, I'm not here representing them. I'm here representing myself, I would say. Because at this, they've requested counsel from me. I've identified that there's a conflict, and I've also identified that they have a need for counsel. So, under
the ethical rules that apply to any lawyer, I'm obligated to
Right.
come and secure that
You're
counsel.
doing your job of just, no different than if you were, doing this for us, and I understand it completely. You're caught in the middle of this.
Could we alter this to have a cap?
No,
Is that something
you can't put a cap on it.
If I can,
Believe it or not.
if I can say this,
I
in
mean,
something I
if you
understand.
could talk to Red Simmons, he'd tell you there's no cap.
Yeah.
That
If
was 7 figures.
Yeah.
this office, this board, initiated an action,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the reason was, they initiated an action against another board.
Mm-hmm.
You can't represent us and them against one another. But in a legal, in a sense of fairness, if we have somebody, they have to have somebody.
That's yeah. And
I mean, I'm just
requested
talking. Yeah,
I mean, their board passed a resolution requesting it. Which
Okay.
the director inquired about obtaining counsel, and I told him the board would have to pass a resolution, which they did.
So if we have somebody, they have to have somebody. We either agree to this action, and then they get somebody, or you find somebody for them. I don't even know how that works. Who they'd be?
They requested somebody. So normally, when one of my clients requests somebody, I'll put that in the order, but Judge Burt can pick whoever he wants.
Right. If we don't provide them by vote with someone, you're going to leave here and go back to your office if you haven't already. Type something up or have.
I'm just going to change what I typed up to say.
I'm just going to approve it. Yeah, I mean, you probably have them on a tablet. Just peel them off and fill in the blanks.
We use computers
but then,
now.
Oh, computer. Okay, yeah, all right. Wow. Man,
Did we find that computer later?
and then you're going to walk across, and it's going to happen anyway.
I would think. Again,
Most likely.
I would say most likely, but I mean, so the presiding judge makes that determination. So right now it's Judge Burt, and I submit the application, and then I wait a few days and get something back from him. Either he signs the order I provide, or he scratches out what I provided and he writes whatever he wants. So.
The whole thing's problematic because, I mean, if we don't provide them with somebody, and the judge doesn't provide them with somebody, I'm going to assume that this is going to go down to Warren.
Yes, it would. I would feel strongly enough that I would.
I mean, I'm assuming that at some point in time we can't pick a fight with somebody and then tell them that they can't defend themselves, or we can't provide them with defense or something like that. I imagine somewhere, once it leaves the county and it loses personalities and faces and becomes a matter of law, what's right and wrong, I imagine it's going to go.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think it'll get that far. I'm just saying that would be the normal progression. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, usually the courts have found that the prosecutor's in the best position to make this determination, so they usually give quite a bit of leeway to whatever county prosecutor's making the application. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. Appreciate the
Thanks.
explanation.
Yeah.
So, just for curiosity's sake, let's say tomorrow we hypothetically did away with our resolution to get rid of our attorney. What does that mean?
Then I think I would tell the board that I don't think that any conflict exists and that there's no pending legal action against them or contemplated legal action, or that you don't have the benefit of consulting with your own lawyer to plot against them, so to speak. So without that, I mean, if you don't have the services of a lawyer and that's not actively occurring, then I would tell them that I don't think that this application would be proper. The only reason I'm making it is because you have the advantage right now of being able to consult with your own lawyer, and they don't. I need to level. I have an obligation. You're my clients. They're my clients. Several people in the audience are my clients. So I have an obligation to keep everybody on a level playing field if I can't represent them.
And so, hypothetically, this is approved. and a bill comes due for $20,000. As county commissioners, we need to approve the bill, and we say no.
Then they would probably pay their lawyer more than $20,000 to sue you to make you pay the bill. That's why people don't like lawyers.
Well, rightly so.
The last time this took place between the county commissioners and an entity that the prosecutor represented was, 15 years ago, 13, 15, somewhere in there, wasn't it? Yeah. And,
well, I mean, it's
I don't have, I'm just saying that this is the commissioners and the sheriff's department, and depending on who you talk to, it went into the millions of dollars.
Yeah, it was 7 figures. We looked that up.
Yeah, I mean, I heard $1 million, I heard $2 million. I kind of like a bidding process or something. Whose story's better? But it was 7 figures. I remember that being. And at the end of the day, I'm not sure that anybody really.
The lawyers did okay.
Yeah. Those were the only winners in that skirmish, in my opinion.
And I guess my biggest concern with this is we're putting dollars ahead of principle. I believe that the whole position of us taking this is because of the fact that there's some issues that we feel that need to be dealt with. So my position on it is that, we can't replace money for principles. And I think that right there is my position.
Yeah, and I understand. I mean, it's frustrating when we get into these situations because, and again, I deal with this without, I always try to mediate things as best I can for as long as I can in the interest of not spending money unnecessarily. But, if the auditor gets in a fight with the treasurer or, it could be anybody else, we've had those issues. And, I try to avoid doing this, but, at some point it happens. But again, it just makes you realize how good of a deal you're getting with us year round.
Yeah.
We're so much less expensive than everybody else.
Something that's not being talked about in this, by the way, I already talked about the surveys and the nonsense that goes on with that. Per what Commissioner Spitaleri just said on the principle of things. What people don't realize is that here's the results from the survey. The results in the survey say, after spending $1 gazillion to do this whole thing, if you hang around with bad kids, you're going to go bad. If you peer pressure makes a difference in your life. Things that my grandmother used to tell me are what comes out of the results. So we spend gazillions of dollars to get results that my grandmother could have told somebody. That's not the bad part. The bad part is now the people who are looking at the results from the surveys say, now we got to do something. Let's go spend $10 million to come up with a solution to fix a problem that was based on advice from my grandmother. And so there's all this downstream cost associated with this. And by the way, the Mental Health Board could diffuse this tomorrow if they chose to. Stop doing the survey. Or sit down and have a conversation with the public, which they promised and never allowed to have happen. They asked us, the public, to come in and have a conversation, and then they controlled the entire meeting. And so the Mental Health Board, there are some issues with the Mental Health Board. And, I'm not sure. I've got mixed emotions on it. I understand your position. You're a good guy. Nobody's going to hold any animus, in this situation because of the situation you're in. And we really don't want to fight with the Mental Health Board. I don't have an issue with the Mental Health Board and what they do. They do a lot of good work and so on and so forth. But on this matter, they're screwed up. And it needs to be corrected, challenged. And that's part of why we're here. And we didn't even, there's nothing, we don't have anything in the works. There's no lawsuit in the works or anything like that. We're just trying to get our head around, what do you do? Our kids are at risk. We're spending millions and millions of dollars on programs that come out of a system that is based on nonsense. And so what do you do?
Well, we're county commissioners, and we're charged with what we do. And the results of a survey, or the fact that they take a survey and so on and so forth, everybody can have their own personal opinion, or may even be a predominance of personal opinions. But right now we have an issue on the table of whether we're going to hire someone to represent someone that we have.
Well, you're not hiring them, so
Well, to authorize someone to hire.
Well, it's
is that what that's about?
Yeah. So what it is it's an application. So what the statute says is that the prosecutor shall represent all boards and county officers. And if a board or county officer needs their own counsel, then the procedure to do that is for the prosecuting attorney and the county commissioners. Well, I have to make the application, but then you would have the process is for you to sign off on it. Make application to the court for appointment of an attorney for the board or the officer. So that's the procedure. I mean, I think I've only had one of those with you. I think it was with Judge Rendell on the. Oh, actually, I had to hire because somebody filed a writ against him and me. So I can always represent myself. So you save money there. But
right. There was a case.
But with him, since we were both defendants in that, where they filed an action against both of us, I went through the same procedure there, where I came to you and just made the application.
The issue I'm trying to get at, it being clear in my mind, is okay. We have clearly have objections to this. What caused this? But our next step is we either vote on this item number 20, or we don't. In which case, you've already stated what you'll be. We'll force you to do what you said.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
either way, I'm taken to the court.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, your decision may impact what Judge Burt decides to do, but I do think, I do think that he will appoint counsel for them.
I think if he doesn't, like I said, it's going to go to the next step, and sooner or later, because I don't think that balance of justice, that scale, we can't one side.
This really does exactly. It doesn't really. Even though the law requires the board to sign off on this, I find it hard. I find it hard to believe. And again, this doesn't really ever come up, but I find it hard to believe that the law would allow you to hire your own lawyer and then be able to not approve hiring somebody. Hiring your adversary a lawyer, and essentially you're putting yourself in a competitive.
Yeah, I don't think it meets the definition of justice or equality.
And that's a little bit of probably what I put in my application if you don't approve it.
But I'm just a poor country pizza lawyer, so I don't know. That commercial.
Well, we probably had enough banter here. Do you want to bring a motion?
You got to read it.
What are your thoughts?
Well,
Prosecutor's Office is requesting the Board approve and authorize the President of the Board to execute the application of prosecuting attorney and Geauga County Board of Commissioners for appointment of counsel pursuant to ORC 305.14A for an order authorizing the Geauga County Board of Mental Health and Recovery Services to employ legal counsel to represent them in the defense of any claims advanced by the Commissioners.
so moved.
Second?
Commissioner Rear.
Reluctantly, aye.
No.
No.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Don't take offense.
No offense.
We gotta do.
We understand.
I'll keep my rhetoric to a minimum in my court application.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.
I know. What are resources? That's a difficult one to follow.
No, it could have been a good one. You could be tired out.
All right, the first item on the agenda is we have submitted an advertisement and internal postings for a part-time person at our Brownwood Wastewater Treatment Plant. And Robert Trofe did apply for that. He's the one that's been here for a couple summer help and then for seasonal help. He was the most qualified. So we're requesting to hire him.
I Department of Water Resources is requesting the board approve hiring Robert Crook to the position of part-time maintenance worker, number 22330-1, at the Barlam wastewater treatment plant to be effective March 23rd, 2015, at a rate of $16.11 for a 180-day probationary period.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Blair?
Aye.
The next item is our rules and regulations. We have been updating. We updated them, put them out for public comment for 30 days. We had notified all our customers individually that the new rules and regulations were going to be out. Plus, we advertised it. There was no obligation to do that, but we felt it was the important thing to let everybody know that we were updating them. The last time they were updated, I think, was '98, so it was due for an update. And we did not receive any comments. The only question that I got was from somebody in the Quilla Village asking if the rates were going up, and that was not part of this. This was just the rules and regulations.
Okay.
Department of Water Resources is requesting the board approve the updated rules and regulations, including the standards and specifications for the department, to be effective April 1st, 2015, as a 30-day comment period was held with no comments received.
Make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Blair?
Aye.
Aye. And the last one.
Yeah, the next two items here are dealing with our Russell Sewer project, the extension at 306 and 87. We finished that project last year and finally got through all the final payments to the contractor for final grading and grass and all of that. Came down to the assessments. I did notice on the agenda that number 25 on the revised agenda is actually part of 24.
Yeah, we renumbered it, just picked it up as a separate item.
Yeah.
That's all.
It is just 23 and 24.
Yeah.
But the 23 is the final cost listed, putting on record the final cost and the assessment numbers, and then 24 is actually authorizing levying the assessments to each of the properties. The tentative assessments that were presented a couple years ago to the property owners before the project started. The final assessments were anywhere, because they're based on front footage. The final assessments came in anywhere between about $2,000 and $8,000 less than the tentative assessments for each property.
Let me get this clear. The sentence is number 25. Is really a part of
24.
Correct.
Of 24.
Because it was
part of the
separated.
resolution. It's just stating.
Okay, so this should just go up to that position there.
Yeah, part of the resolution is all the property owners will have 30 days to
All right.
pay the assessment before it goes on their taxes.
The Department of Water Resources is requesting the board approve the final costs and list of assessments for the Russell Township Center Sewer Project, and that they be placed on file with the clerk for the Board of County Commissioners and Sanitary Engineer's Office. The Department of Water Resources is requesting the board approve and execute Resolution 15-032, levying the revised assessments for the Russell Township Center Sewer Project in the Geauga County Sanitary Sewer District. This resolution provides the property owners 30 days to pay the assessment in cash before the assessment list is certified by the county auditor.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Blair?
Aye.
And the final item here is the findings and orders from the Ohio EPA on the Henning Drive, Helmet Drive, Omar, Howard, and Twin Road in Chardon Township. That area had a nuisance from the existing septic systems. Most of them were tied into a common tile system out there. Then the road department, when the Chardon Road Department was out there about a year ago or so, they were excavating and hit the pipe, and when they hit it, it discharged septage, and that from that common tile line, which was obviously backed up, the samples were run downstream of that, where that pipe actually comes out and discharges into the river or stream there, and the samples came back at anywhere between 600 parts per million and 1 million parts per million for fecal coliform. The allowable was 596 parts per million. So it was extremely high compared to what is allowable. We did receive preliminary findings and orders from the EPA back in September of last year. At that point, we began negotiating with the EPA, trying to come up with a plan. One of the first things we looked at was, can we replace the existing septic systems with new septic systems? What we found in conjunction with the health district is the majority of those existing septic systems, when they would be replaced, would need to be replaced with off-lot discharging systems, which under all of the current rules for the health district, those would all then become individually permitted systems through the EPA. So the EPA basically, at that point it was about 70% or so we estimated would need to be off-lot discharging systems if they're replaced. And the EPA basically at that point said, well, I'm not going to permit the abatement of this public health nuisance by replacing the septic systems and have 70 new permits in the state, which, if you think about it from their perspective, obviously it's easier for them to control one being water resources than 70 individual. So after further discussion, they came back with another proposal of what they were going to give us 3 years to not only have a system designed or plan designed but in place, but also to have everybody tied in within that 3 years. Further discussion, we came back, they said, well, we'll give you 5 years to get the system in place, not mentioning anything about having people tied in. So we at least have, at this point, would have till 2020 to get through this project and get, find whatever low interest or no interest loans we can obtain or any other kind to help the individuals who live out there. Obviously, those are, when we get hit with these where we're being told, or we wind up with realizing that an area needs to be sewered, it's always the small lots, old septic systems from 60 years ago or 50 years ago that were put in, and the people who are living in that area are not of the means of necessarily being able to afford a $23,000 or $25,000 assessment on their property. So we do search out whatever we can to keep the costs down, as well as in the design process, making sure we're using the most up-to-date technology, or if like the example would be Thompson with the rock there, we're using the vacuum system instead of a gravity system. If we use a gravity system out there, that cost would be double or what we're getting right now.
Wow.
So,
and then as part of that 5-year agreement, that they specified that Doug has to remain here.
He would be sitting here right now. Maybe 4 months. So we're at the point where the kind of the negotiations and talking with the prosecutor's office. If we deny this, we'll be dealing with the EPA will turn it over to the Attorney General, the State Attorney General office to force an agreement.
We're not having enough fun, so let's do that.
Yeah.
Well, and it needs to be done, right? I mean, it's a health.
You have plenty of older systems in there that I think in talking to the health district, in that subdivision point of sale inspections, every one of them's failing. So it's not a matter of it needs to be addressed.
And then as far as for the individual homeowner, what kind of a cost are they going to look at to connect?
For connecting, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
but on average, have you had other projects that you've had like this?
Well, I did do kind of just some truly preliminary numbers because I thought this question may come up. And right now it's looking about, if we just got a straight up loan without getting any kind of other lower cost, using the Thompson numbers, which are our most current numbers, even though it would probably be a gravity system instead of a vacuum system, it's about $25,000 a house.
A house.
So per lot. And again, we can work on trying to get whatever we can to keep that cost lower.
Yeah.
Because the EPA does, have some loan programs and grant programs, and that will address USDA.
To do something similar to the Thompson deal.
Correct.
We'd have to build our own unit, right?
Yes, that's the reason why I don't like it. Is we're going to have another treatment plant. We're going to be operating and maintaining. And have Thompson will put us at 27. That will put us at 28.
Okay.
And it just at some point,
so
you're aware that.
So I mean, and this is all preliminary, but as far as just so that we keep the residents abreast to that, possibly be so that they won't get shell shocked that they get a $25,000 bill in their house.
Correct. I have a letter prepared prepared, ready to go after today. Just
I
wanted to get through this process before I gave it to them, and that way, but the letter's ready to go, and we'll probably go on tomorrow's mail.
Oh yeah. And it gets assessed, doesn't it? I mean, they don't have to come up and shoot. I mean, essentially, the water resources are the finances. Correct? I mean, it's not like here's a $25,000 bill, or we're
Doug's retirement account.
That's right. No, it's similar to what you just approved with the Russell Sewer project. It's the same way.
Yeah.
Once the project was done, we would come. If it was, if it made sense to go the assessment route with Thompson and Parkman, that those properties weren't those projects weren't assessed. There's actually an additional fee that added onto the user fee every month to pay the loans on those.
I feel badly about that, but if my lot septic tank goes bad, it's going to cost me $25,000 or so, and I can't assess it. I can take it out on payments or something, but that's it. I got to pay it.
I have gone to a couple of the Chardon Township trustee meetings and explained this whole, where we've been at in this process as we've gone along, and talking with the trustees. They seem to think that the residents were very anxious initially, but once they kind of realized something was going to need to be done, and then starting to think through the process and realizing, well, if we get a sewer, yes, we've got a fee we're going to have to pay, but that can be assessed over 20 years. If we get to where you have to replace our septic systems, that's an upfront cost right now, no assessment. You have to go get a loan, whatever you need to do.
And are there still open buildings areas in that vicinity that this is going to be able to have capacity for? Is there still locations?
The subdivision is built out. I don't believe there's any vacant lots left in there. And the Chardon Township trustees have said they are only interested in a sewer system being within that subdivision.
Okay.
Because I was taught that you were talking about going down towards 6 and picking up the
it was just
bar and the daycare and some other issues.
In the initial process, I did bring that up with the trustees if they knew of any other areas that they may have had prior knowledge of issues with that they wanted to address, but
and they don't.
They don't know of any other issues they have. And
no, would we be doing a service to try to reach out? Some of those people, or no?
Well, through the process, sometimes we talk to the EPA because they'll have permits for all this. There's an EPA permit for the daycare, for the restaurant there, and everything there. And it all depends on how they're operating and how new they're updated. It's the same thing with the mobile home park. So sometimes when we work with the EPA, when we start giving them the preliminary plans, they might come to us and make suggestions or talk about.
Because if we agree on this, the initial costs of the fixed fees or the fixed costs in that is always the big dollars, making it a little bit bigger or capable of serving more. It's always that much less, other than the initial infrastructure, right?
The issue I see possibly with taking it to the intersection of 6 and Auburn there is you have smaller lots that you have to get past. If you're trying to get all the way down 6 to those 4 or 5 properties that are down there, now you've got a lot more infrastructure you're putting in order to get to a smaller group of customers.
I see.
A lot of distance there for piping.
So that may, if we included them, that may actually increase the cost, but not gain any.
But would the system though be built that if down the road we needed to do that, it'll handle that?
It could be, it could be designed to include some additional in the future, but our preference is to always, to look at unless we've got an immediate need or we see something that may happen within the next 10 years, they keep the overall cost of the initial project down. Design what we need right now, but make it so that it can be expandable in the future.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
They can make it like a 40,000 gallon day plant here, and then have, if you buy the property, leave half the property on the one side vacant, so then we put the second 100,000 gallon train next to it.
Okay, so then it could be expandable so that we would have one location, we wouldn't have to put another plant.
Correct.
You know, okay, I see. And then as far as that, the property, we have that for the location?
No, we do not have property.
So we would have to look to purchase a piece of property to put the plant?
We need a discharge approval site from the EPA, just like we had the problem with Thompson. So in other words, we have to, through our study that we do, we actually locate and try to find where the EPA will allow us to discharge first.
Okay.
And once you do that, then you have to find your location.
That brings up an interesting wrinkle. I hadn't even thought about that as we were thinking about this. So here we've got a community that the EPA says you got to put in a sewer system. What's the likelihood we can't find a discharge spot?
Well,
Or that the
Jerry
discharge
had
is
an
15 miles
argument.
away?
Jerry
or
had an
an
argument.
argument.
In this case, it's not likely we're going to have that issue because you have the stream or the river that runs through the golf course
Oh, they
there.
put it in the street.
That's where
That's what they do.
Actually, right now, that's where it's going. That's where they test it.
Has to have a-
coming out
You have
of
to have a
the stream
restraining stream with enough year-round flow to take
To-
the...
to-
Yeah,
Right.
I think the
We
one
did-
the
we did
output
have-
from the sewer system is pretty clean.
Yeah.
We did have that issue at Thompson when we were going through the initial process of that. Originally we wanted to put the plants behind the school because they had an existing plant and they were discharging into a stream. When the evaluations were done, that stream was a cold water habitat and also during the summer had very little to no flow in it. So we would have been the supplying source for the flow during the summer. So they denied that point. When we looked at where the plant is now, they initially were going to deny us that point. That was the only other point, the only other stream to discharge
They wanted
to.
you to pipe it all the way to the Grand River.
They were going to tell us to pipe it to the Grand River, up 528 to the Grand River. And I looked at the EPA guy at that point and I said, you got to tell me here who wins, because if you tell us that's where we have to go, this project is dead because these people in this area can't afford the project as it is now.
Right.
You're going to add $2 million to it to pipe it to the Grand River. That's when they said, well, let's do some further studies on this stream and see if it will take it. And
Okay.
sure enough, it was able to take it.
So have you guys put together like a 10-year, 20-year, 30-year plan as far as the projection for Geauga County for some of those specific concerns for, growth and development? I mean, do you guys have a pretty good, grasp on some of the things that, for potential growth? I mean, because it is a concern, I'm sure, of yours too, that, somebody could say, okay, we're going to take this piece of property and we're going to put 50 homes on it, but in reality, I mean, you guys have a big, responsibility and a big, weight on your shoulders also to be able to assure that down the road we're not in a position that there's going to be contamination and I mean, there's a lot that goes into this.
Yeah. Our two-way water quality plan, which is kind of more or less the master plan for sewering, and the sewering any areas of the county where it may be sewered. Those were all put together with the help of the township trustees for addressing areas where we could see the possibility of growth in the future. Example would be Clarendon and Munson Township, the 422 Mayfield Road, at 44 there, going out to Spencer Road that runs diagonally from Geauga to Mayfield. That area there was kind of working with the trustees that they could see those being the areas where growth may happen. That area, if you look at the township, at the 208 plan, shows that area being maybe sewered in the future. One of the things that was done years ago, one of the things have on my list of things to do is to go back and readdress those 208 areas and verify if we did want, if growth did happen there, where would a plant go? How could, where could we take that to? Could that, could those areas truly be served without having put in another plant?
Yeah.
One of the other things I have been looking at is the possibility of eliminating some of our plants, turning them into pump stations, and pumping them to other existing plants that we have. They're either undersized or can be increased in size.
Just to get more efficiency.
To get more, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we have the Sherman Hills. We did that a few years, or 8 years back now. That was its own treatment plant. We turned that into a pump station, and that gets pumped to our Valley View plant now.
Okay.
So, and
Troy Oaks
and
will be
in
the
order,
same thing.
correct.
We did put
Troy
umbrellas
Oaks
in
will be-
Bainbrook. Yeah, we done.
Yep.
Yeah.
That brings up a question that someone posed to me about Troy Oaks and the Ladue Reservoir. And they're telling me that we're putting the pipe under the water. And I thought it was being buried along the causeway.
It is being buried along the causeway, except for at the bridge on the causeway.
And then you're going under?
That's where it's going to go under the water. So I think that's about 300, 400 feet, if I remember correctly, of where it's going to, where it'll be under the water.
And that's like a double wall pipe or facility
Correct.
there.
That's going to be in a double wall facility. We are also going to put in parallel casing pipes at that point, so if something ever did happen, we would be able to reroute that line immediately without having a long downtime bringing somebody.
Yeah, they were trying to tell me we're going to directional bore a line under that lake, under that reservoir, and I said, I don't.
Only within the area of the bridge.
Yeah,
the rest of
okay.
We did. That was one of the things that we looked at initially. That ODOT had requested us to look at was when we were wanting to come across the causeway was what are the alternatives. And one of the alternatives we did look at was boring underneath the Ladue.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I digress, but that question came up last week, and I went, I don't think so, but I'll find out.
Yeah, if we had gone that route, if that was the only route we could have gone, we would be building another plant.
Yeah, I don't think EPA would let you put the sewer underneath the Akron's drinking water.
Even without the EPA, the cost of that was so exorbitant. It would make no sense in the long run.
If you're in the city of Cleveland, it would have made perfect sense. I'm sorry.
That's why we live in Geauga.
Well, you're at it. Put a subway in next to it.
Yeah. Okay, so are we ready to read this?
The Department of Water Resources is requesting the board execute the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, Director's final findings and orders for abating the health nuisance in the Henning Drive area of Chardon Township.
So move.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm happy to have something.
That's okay.
All right, sure. County auditor establishing a road agency. We don't have the county auditor here.
No, this is simply, apparently they have the ability, or they've been authorized by the state auditor to create a separate fund. They want to segregate the funds relating to manufactured homes for real estate so they can track them separately. But you guys have to approve that.
Commissioner's Office is requesting the board authorize the Geauga County Auditor to establish a Rotary Agency Fund to be known as the Manufactured Home Tax Escrow Fund to allow for the proper accounting of revenue and expenditures associated with the receipt of monies for escrow for manufactured home tax as segregated from escrow for real estate tax pursuant to ORC 321.45.
Motion.
So move.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Just the clerk's office.
And the last one is a administrative kind of thing. You want to read it?
Commissioner's Office is requesting the board amend the motion from March 10, 2015 to read, appoint Kim Laurie as alternate for Rossville area for the Northeast Ohio Area-Wide Coordinating Agency, NOACA, until further notice.
So move.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
And with that, if there's any questions that Joe's been out with some medical issue and he's just not able to attend, so.
I talked to him last week. He's doing well.
Is he doing well?
Yeah.
Is he still in the hospital? Or is he
No, he's home.
Just it'll take some rehab for the kind of procedure he had done. So.
Perfect.
And as an FYI, I'm going to forward both of you a contract from NOACA on the lobbying organization that we have for NOACA. I think you find that interesting reading. We're paying $30,000 to lobby to accomplish what NOACA has to accomplish, which is not clear. And I've made some requests to get some more information from them on that. And with that, there was supposed to be a motion on here today to approve one of the Planning Commission people, Kathy Cotton. And so it didn't make it here. I'd like to bring up a request for a motion to approve Kathy Cotton to the Planning Commission. After going through all the resumes and so forth, she appeared to be an individual that would serve the Planning Commission well. And if you're willing to do that, I'd like to ask for a motion, and then we can.
What are we going to do about this second one?
I don't know how you feel about the other resumes. So far, I've not been excited about the other folks. I've made some requests to people to reach out to the Amish community in particular to see if we can't find an Amish representative. They're sorely lacking from that board. And so I'm told that I'll get a couple of resumes here shortly from some Amish candidates. And so I'm seeking some. You're, of course, welcome to.
Well, I'm not opposed to the one individual that was on there and was up for
Tracy Amos
reappointment. I'm not opposed to him. He has experience, and I'm unaware of any objection. It would be nice to get that off our plate.
Can I just review them on Tuesday for Tuesday? If you don't, do we have something pending? And let me take a look real quick.
For
next Tuesday,
that's fine.
Say if you were going to just do one today, you'd probably have to specify who that person would be replacing. Whereas if you were doing two new people, then it would be obvious. Both
I would suggest Margaret Mullen. So that way they lose Tracy Wilson. So.
Well, why don't we just wait until Tuesday, and that gives Ralph.
Okay,
you're going to be here Tuesday.
Yep.
Okay, I mean that gives Ralph an opportunity to review them, but it would be nice to clear that up.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Okay, well, and if you have any Amish folks that you know, I think it would be really nice to get somebody from the Amish community, since they're a large part of our population and they have no representation on that board. So, anyway, with that said, meetings coming up: NOACA air quality, transportation, water quality on Friday. The NACOG meeting the 23rd, the 24th, Investment Advisory Council, the 24th Commissioners meeting, 26th. At 6:30, an evening session. The 30th, the Board of Revision in the Auditor's Office, and then the 31st, the Commissioners' regular session.
The only other thing is I saw in our mail. Let me see here. This is today's date is
that's today
17th. So the 19th, Munson Township zoning denied the hospital for the sign on the front of 44. So they have a board of zoning appeals board. I'll just leave my copy up here if anybody want to look at that. But I would strongly recommend if anybody can, attend this or to express, I mean, this is the hospital, and if especially if you're familiar with that sign is that sign is on 44. We have a 55 speed limit. Is that 44?
I believe
45.
45. But at the end of the day, in a situation whether it would be snow or low light condition or whatever, I think that service to our residents that in a need of an emergency to try to get to an emergency room, I think that sign is a critical piece that I think supporting a bigger sign would make sense, because you could go right past it and all of a sudden, in a panic situation, if you had somebody in your car or family member, I think that this is a little bit over the top. And I understand that everybody has their rules, but in this
he's on an ego trip anyway.
So, well, this is, I think the major objection is the square footage of the sign, isn't it?
Yeah.
It does talk about
another one.
An illuminated
sign, yeah.
A lit sign, which, again, they seem to frown on that in a lot of zoning things. But that's like saying, well, There's a couple of places along there that I want to know what driveway to go into. One is the hospital, one is the safety center. Places that service people, and you don't want to be sitting there following your GPS.
So,
you just want to drive there and go.
Yeah, and if you look at it now, and I just happened to actually respond to the hospital just a couple of weeks ago that I was called there for a friend of mine. The sign actually was down. You know, they were in the process of moving some signs around because I think they're putting some electric or something up there. And you know, fortunately enough, I've gone to that hospital enough times through the years on the sheriff's office that I knew exactly where to turn. But if you were somebody that was just trying to figure it out, the hospital's big enough where if you're going to go down like Merritt Drive and try to go loop around or whatever, you know, it's important for us to have good visibility of an emergency.
Yeah, you want to go down Hospital Drive if
Yeah.
you're going to the emergency room. You don't want to go down Ravenwood and, like you say, loop all the way around trying to find it.
And all I would ask is also that, you know, with this being said, is that, you know, everybody, you know, myself included, likes to advertise their business, that the illuminated sign or whatever the sign is not just an advertisement for University Hospital, but focusing on emergency. You know, that's, I think the goal would be is just to just make sure that we have representation, because sometimes we're our own worst enemy sometimes with some of these rules and regulations, and we sometimes get past common sense. So just something to think about. I mean, you're a resident of Munson, I am too. So, yeah.
I use the hospital. I'm not a resident of Munson, but I do go there.
Right. I'm saying, like, as far as
you guys know where it's at. You live there. I'm the one that needs a sign.
Right. Yeah. So.
Okay, with that, can we get a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.